Hey everyone, I'm Marc Hawes. You might know me from things like Ava's Impossible Things, or even more recently, Little, the guy Scott who licked the apple. But today, I'm so excited to be here on the Jim Master Show, starting now.
How cool was that? I saw you rocking out to that theme in our show
How can you
open.
how can you not though, you know?
We wanted to give you the full length theme and the animation and the whole thing for your open because you've been very involved in the world of animation as well. Welcome to the show, Marc Hawes. It's great to have you here, fellow New York kid who's gone out west to make it big, and he's making it big in LA and television, film, and video games, animation, voiceover, directing, and singing as well along the way. How are you? And welcome to the show, my friend.
Well, Jim, I am so excited to be here, and I'm even better now that I get to speak with you. So thanks for having me, honestly.
The pleasure is all mine. I like your sort of setup there. Is this where a lot of the action happens? Is this where a lot of the voice work happens where you are now?
Yeah, so during the pandemic, right, I started to do a lot of like live streaming where I play video games and other things like that. And so I decided, you know what, I need to have a little bit of a background that kind of looks nice. And this is more recent. This is more recent. As the last couple of months, I was like, just got to do it. I just got to do it. Got to get a little accent light back there and one back here. And, have my keynotes up there. But a lot of the direction will happen here, but then the voiceover recording stuff happens over there in my man-made booth slash closet.
Everybody uses their closets because they're soundproof. You got the clothing still hanging up, right? That creates that sound barrier for you, which is
Exactly.
awesome. They've all done that, which is terrific. I mean, were you always a kid that was mimicking voices and doing voices and singing around the house and always entertaining everybody? Were you always full of vim and vigor back then? What was young Mark like growing up in upstate New York?
It's so funny. This is a great question from my mom. But I think see,
Mrs. Hawes, would you like to step in now or
oh
after
yeah, she's great. She's like, oh, hello.
our next guest?
I'd be like, Mom, can I have the time back now, please? Like,
This is your life. I'm Ralph Edwards.
I was a little bit, I think honestly, I was kind of a little bit shy, a little introverted, but I know stories of my mom telling me like there was this song, Dire Straits Walk of Life, that would play when it would come on. I'm pretty sure that's who did it. And I remember a blue background, red guitar, and whenever that song would come on, I would get up and start dancing, even when I was little. For whatever reason, that song just made me want to dance. And then from there, I started singing. And when you were little, like back then, like it was not okay for kids to like always like kind of talk or be loud and stuff. And we were sitting in like my mom would always try to like encourage me to play. And if some people were like, oh, he's being loud, of course not annoyingly loud, but it's just one of those things. She'd always encourage me to find my space and go engage in play. And I think that helped with my imagination, which then of course led me to like learning and doing more singing and then stuff and then theater and then kind of so I was a very imaginative kid. I loved imagining things. I had an imaginary friend. I don't think I've ever told anybody that.
Oh, wait, you didn't? Guess what? We have a graphic for that. It's a JMS exclusive. We're professionals here, Mark. We've got a graphic for it all. You thought it was
Yeah.
just that fancy show open we had? No, we got the graphics. We got it
So
all,
you
my friend. We
you
are
got it all.
pros.
He's my imaginary friend. He had a name. His name was Gary.
Tell us about Gary.
It's weird. It's like he was just always there. He was just I don't even know, honestly. I don't know really what he looked like. I just know that as a kid, he was there. I do think he was a little bit older. Like, obviously, at the time, I would probably have been 3 and or 4 years old. And the reason I say that is I have a brother who is 4 years younger than me. And so the imaginary friend Gary existed before he was around. And I don't know if I just invented this out of play or wanting to have someone around. And I don't know how long he kind of stayed or existed in my psyche, or but at some point he served his purpose and he went on. um
Was Gary ever jealous of the young brother now that was coming into the world? Was there any sort of, what is he doing around here? You have me, I'm Gary.
Yeah, it's so I don't know. I never really got the sense that he was jealous. I never really got the sense that he was like malicious or anything like that. Because there is those things, depending on if you believe a little bit more in the paranormal. Like maybe like as kids, they'd be a little closer to that veil and maybe experience like an entity or something like that if you believe in those types of things. And so, of course, at the time, I didn't think that, but I was like, I wonder if maybe that's Gary could have been too, who knows? Maybe Gary was not from this realm.
Did
My
that sort of spark your interest in things that were creative and interesting? Like when you were a kid, were you watching television? Were you playing video games? How did the interest in all of that actually come your way too, Mark?
I mean, man, I started playing video games when I was super, super young. And then like every summer, I think the thing that I would look forward to was that they would have this thing, which of course this is, I think you probably remember this, Jim, but like it's like they had like Nick at Night on Nickelodeon, and like they would have like all old reruns of old shows,
Oh
you know,
yeah. Dick Van Dyke
and
Show and all the ones we were talking about. Yeah.
that's exactly it. They would have like Monster Mondays and I Dream of Genie Tuesdays, which the bottle
Yes.
in your opening reminds me of the genie bottle from I Dream of Genie, you know. And then so Adam's Family, I think, was on those too. So I grew up watching I Love Lucy, the Munsters, I Dream of Genie, through both Darrens. They just randomly changed the Darren. Yeah, there you go.
There,
Yeah, that's
there
it.
it is. There it is.
Is she in there?
Barbara, would you like to come out? I'm sleeping. See, instead of Masters, she calls me Masters because of the last name.
Yeah,
Masters. She's in there sleeping, but she sends her love.
that is so amazing.
Isn't that amazing? That's how that got worked into that show open was a terrific illustrator in New York who's a friend of mine. We were thinking about a show open and we were trying to design something. And I said, what do you think's good? What should we go with? He said, retro is really popular right now. So I'll make everything look retro, you and the logo and all the rest. And I noticed you got the I Dream of Genie bottle on set, among other things from TV and all. Let me incorporate that in. And I said, sure. If I said, so the first part, which I've explained a couple of times to some of the guests who have asked about that open, is him actually doing the illustration, the sketch in his studio, where he was working on Betty Boop, and he was working on, I think, a cover art for an album with Aerosmith or something. He's a really renowned guy. And so he said, I'd love to do something for you. So I want to incorporate the genie bottle into it because you have it there and you referred to it a lot. And so he did that. He did the illustration. And then I said to him, gee, how can we animate this graphic? I would love for it to not just be a stagnant slide, but can we have it pop out of the screen and we'll match music to it and all. He says, well, I'm not an animator. I'm an illustrator, but my daughter is an animator and she's working on some projects for the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. Let me see if she has time. So she took the logo he designed and made it pop out on the screen as an animation with the genie bottle situated there as well. Yeah. You got a good eye to see that genie bottle, huh?
Oh man. See, it's just,
we have
retro's
everything here. We have everything.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And also it just brings me back to those moments, was I luckily grew up in a pretty good household, a pretty good childhood. My parents were always supportive of what I was interested in and excited about doing. And so, like I think they always just were like they were always my biggest support structure and cheerleaders. So I think that and I know not everybody is as lucky to grow up like that, but I do give a lot of credit to them. I think they did a good job. Thanks, mom and dad.
They are probably where the awesomeness has come from, right? Is that
Yeah.
case in point, the ultimate in awesomeness that we dug out here? This is on his Instagram, folks. So you see this, it is him. Tell us about this. This is cool. What's the story behind this, Mark? This is awesome.
I have never taken it off my Instagram ever since I had it made.
It's like, wow.
I know. And most people are like, "Is that you?" I'm like, "Yeah, it is me. It is me."
Yeah, it's cool. It's the expression is interesting. Like, yeah, you're stopping by, or you what do you need? How can I help you?
I kind of want to get that now made and put up in my wall over here.
You
Like,
should enlarge it. Yeah. Why? It's cool. It's funny.
that's the first time I've seen it that big. And so,
Yeah,
like
there it
about
is.
like about like 10 years ago, like there was an app on iPhones called Draw Me Like a French Girl. And you could take pictures of yourself and put them up. And if someone found it interesting enough, then of course this is before AI, right? Because it does kind of look like an AI model or one of those things you put in and it does this, right? But like it's like if someone felt inclined or inspired by the photo, or some of the ones that I would do for other people were just stick figures, but because that was my extent. But that one came through once when I posted it, and I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. So of course I have always saved it since then. I don't even know who the artist is of this. But it was thrown up on the app. The app doesn't exist anymore, so I can't even go back on to see the username or how it was even submitted through there. But that was a picture of me as Glenn from the TV from the Netflix, not Netflix, YouTube short series called Super Losers.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was one of the first things I did out here. And my hair was all like curly, and when it gets curly, when it's longer than this, it gets kind of poofy. And so I had it all poofed up, and I think I probably had like my sweatband over my head too, and I was kind of like sitting like this, and I snapped the photo because it looked ridiculous, and I was like, let's see if anybody does anything. And
And there it is, right?
there you go. Yeah.
Well, you say like poofy, like in our graphic thumbnail. A little
Yeah,
bit.
kind of
Yeah,
like
right,
that. It was a
perfect.
little bit
Right.
longer than that though. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly right, which is cool. You have actually an extensive background. You're educated in all of this too, as much as, we have some fun talking about it all. But you, at a young age, really took this fondness to art, which I think is fantastic. I did as well. And you attended the Crane School of Music, and you received your Bachelor of Arts in Music Education, concentration in voice, and you
Mhm.
professionally taught voice for 3 years in public schools located around the Hudson Valley before returning to get your master's in arts acting in the British tradition at the Birmingham School of Acting in Birmingham, UK. Tell us
Yeah.
about that. So you really had a love and a fondness for it all early, but then really seriously pursued this work, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, like I found my niche in high school as like a theater actor, and in the music department as well. Mr. Lamson, my high school music teacher, was a big proponent of that. Like in and around the schools in Messina, New York, which is where I grew up. Um, the high school musical was like known in the town, Messina, and there was like rivals. There was like Madrid Waddington, and then there was other schools, and like it was like everyone was trying to compete to see whose school did the musical the best. And it was kind of well known. And the first musical I saw, and I've talked about this with multiple different people, but it was Annie the musical. My mom brought me. I didn't even know what musicals or theater was at the time, and that kind of like set the hook, if you will, in it. And then when I got to high school, I wanted nothing more than to do that, to be on stage, to sing, to be part of a production. And when I did, it was kind of um, I don't know. It was like I went from not being known in the high school to all of a sudden, oh, you were the kid on stage, and then I had people saying hi to me in the halls, and I was like, kind of like, whoa, oh, hi, thanks, and it was. and I don't want to say like like it was just nice to be recognized for the talent that I had done or for the work that I had put in on stage. And so I was like, wow, that's, that's people are actually saying hi to me. I'm not just, disappearing into the crowd of people, or, people are actually going out of their way to say something. And um it wasn't about that though. It was more about how I felt in the moment on stage and working in a collaborative effort in a group and telling a story. Um and it just transpired. Well, at the time I was like, I really want to go for acting. I really want to go for acting. But, you know, someone, I think I had heard like, you shouldn't go for acting. You should have a fallback plan. You should have a fallback plan because, acting doesn't work out. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I was like, well, what else do I like to do? I like to sing, and I love music, and that's, a big proponent of my life too. And that's, so I decided to audition for the Crane School of Music. That's where I wanted to go, and I specifically wanted to go from musical performance. Um, I didn't get accepted for musical performance, and I was like, okay. So my first year, I went undeclared to SUNY Potsdam, um, and I waited and then re-auditioned, and I auditioned for music business because that was, I don't want to say an easier program to get into, but you didn't have to have like the highest standard of musical understanding and performance values to get into music business. And it was kind of like to learn how to like have a music shop and like, maybe like sell or rent saxophones. And, like we had like upstate us around us is like northern music or something. I think it was like what it was called. A lot of people would go into to buy stuff from. Um, but I auditioned and I got accepted. The weird thing was my acceptance letter said that I had been accepted for music education, not
Hmm.
music business. I didn't
Wow.
audition for music ed.
You didn't,
And
yeah.
and I was like, this is odd. Oh, okay. So I went in to talk to the dean because we had to sign off on everything. And he was like, well, that's impossible. Like you could not be accepted for a program that you didn't audition. And he looked at it and I was just like, he goes, I'll change it right now. And there was some little voice. We'll say it was Gary,
Gary
some
came
little
back.
voice inside of me. And I was just like, you know what? Actually, leave it. Don't change it. Because I watched him take his pen and he was just about to scratch it out and change it to business. I said, just no, leave it, leave it. And that was that. And so I did music education for 3 years in the Hudson Valley area, um, all while doing musical theater and, theater at night with a wonderful theater there, community theater called County Players in Wappingers Falls. And then also doing tryouts in Connecticut, like kind of regional theater there too. And then I just loved it too much that I couldn't, in New York, you have to get a master's at some point. If you want to continue to teach, you have to get a master's. And so I was like, okay, well, you know what? I was like, I've done the education thing. I'm going to do it in acting. And so that's kind of where set off to do it, and then ended up in the UK for acting. Like, you know,
Yes, and even making your mark there too, because while in the United Kingdom, you became the face of UK's largest van renting company too. Tell us about that, huh? Always on the move. Mark's always on the move.
always on the move. I know a guy. like, um, like the thing is, we couldn't legally work a certain amount of hours because we were obviously only there on a student visa. But I was still auditioning for things, and so this audition came through, and they needed a guy to sing, and so I got in front of the camera and they just do this like cheesy kind of thumbs up thing, and I just had to say like Vanorama, right? And I didn't think anything of it. And then I found out, hey, we actually want you to do this. Could you come up to Manchester? And of course, I lived in Birmingham at the time, so I had to ride the train up. I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours maybe, all the way up there, and stayed overnight. Did the shoot for it, and then I had no idea at the time it was like their first big like commercial push. And so I just thought, I'm just doing a commercial and that'll be that. And then it ended up, I was on letterhead, I was on mugs, which I have in my sound booth just because like, like, and to the point where all of a sudden they started running the ad on TV, and then I was on their website. The minute you went to their website, it was just me. And I was like, what? And I got invited back for their Christmas party to sing with the West End singing waiters. Like we're a whole bunch of waiters that work on the West End, but they camouflage as waiters. And then some point during the night, they just break into song and do a whole performance. And so they had to sneak me in to Pendley Manor in Tring, the UK. This is the first time, the only time I've ever had a 4-poster bed. Like,
You
I was, I was like, this is crazy. I have a canopy. Like,
I
I
was
feel
going
like
to say, with or
Scrooge.
without the canopy, it had the
Yeah,
canopy too, huh?
yeah. I was like, can I close it? And like, the ghost of Christmas past will be outside. Like,
Exactly, right?
yeah.
That is funny. Great experiences too. I mean, to just pick up and pack the luggage and go, across the big pond to the UK, and then of course you felt that you've helped rent enough vans in wonderful England. You returned to the United States ready to work, and you went on to be one of the top mentioned actors in that year's Drama UK showcases, both in New York and Los Angeles as well. And the acting and character types often get compared to that of Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, and Josh Gad. As a matter of fact, that's kind of the description. Seth Rogen and Jonah Hill's love child with a pinch of Josh Gad. You've got Mark. How do you feel about people referring to you in that way, in that vein? It's pretty cool, huh?
I don't mind it at all. And honestly, like, I'm way cheaper than all three of them individually and combined.
And
So,
right.
you know,
Call 1-800 if voice, right?
yeah, that's it. That's it. I don't mind it. I had people when I first came out here, I had people confusing me. They'd be like, "Hey, you know who you look like?" And I'd be like, Who?" And they'd be like, Seth Rogen. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, and then people were like, "No, you don't." Like, my friends would be like, "You do not." And then they'd be like, "Oh, you look like Jonah Hill." And I was like, "Oh, cool." Like, and at one point I was at the Chinese ramen theater, and I'm 100% convinced this Asian tour group came through. And because I was standing there with a suit and tie on, because I was ready to go in for just to watch a show, they thought I was, and they all took photos with me. And I didn't have the heart to tell them that I wasn't, so I just took photos with them.
And now they have those photos and they're so
Yeah,
excited and they're
I
passing
know.
them around. They're like, look who we met.
Yeah, and they're like, "Who's that guy?"
That is funny. That
Mm.
happens sometimes too. Do you ever have that when it comes to your voice? Did you have people ever say you sound like, or are you so and so? Like, if you pick up, like with me, because I've worked on the air as well, sometimes when I answer the phone, I'll go, hello, or, Jim speaking, whatever. And sometimes there'll be like dead air. There'll be like a pause because somebody would be waiting for a tone or a click, thinking that I'm actually the, you know, answering machine or something. And I'm like, no, it's Jimmy. Are you actually there? And I'm like, yeah, I'm here. I'm
Yeah,
talking to you now, responding. That
that was
you,
so polished.
I was going to say, do you ever get that too?
Yeah. I mean, when I was little, when people would call, they'd be like, because I have a higher timbre in my voice and a higher sound. I tend to be I'm a tenor in terms of like the singing, kind of voice male parts. Tend to sometimes sing tenor one up there, which would be like, getting into without getting into the music, but like high Fs. I used to have a piano right here, which I would like, when I was teaching my voice stuff, but I don't have, since my new setup, I don't currently have it set up at the moment, but or else I'd be like, there's my high F. I also haven't warmed up today, so I don't know about how good I'd be. But
Do those high Fs still come out also when you're cut off in traffic, or
oh
is it
yeah,
the low
it's
ones?
it's so
Becomes an
I think
alto.
they're probably more F bombs.
Which could be in any pitch, any. That is funny. You
Boy, do we have that traffic out here, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I know it is crazy, 6 lanes of chaos. Now they say you always almost are cast to play the comedic or geek or character roles and pretty much consider yourself all of those things in real life. So life imitates art in its own way. Does comedy and comedic roles, does that come to your heart and soul first? Or are we going to see you in a new horror movie in October or something, or a Hallmark Christmas flick? or a Lifetime Who Stole the Baby movie.
That's so funny. I know. And funny enough, I actually know one of the Lifetime Who Stole the Baby writers out here. Her name is Vivian Rhodes, and I think she wrote Stolen from the Womb.
Right.
and, it was on Lifetime.
We've had some of the actors and actresses on, right? And those are great gigs. I mean, that's regular work. You're usually appearing in all kinds of movies about these
That's
various topics. But
yeah,
does comedy
yeah.
come your way? Like if somebody said, "Hey, how about a sitcom on CBS or NBC or would
Um,
that be or Netflix? Would that be of interest to you too, Mark?"
oh my gosh. Yeah, you guys hear it right here. Give me a call. Anything comedic you need, let's go. Comedy 100% has just always been, I think, just come naturally to me. I there's a video that I remember seeing that my mom had of me, and going back to like childhood and stuff, where we made cookies one day, right? And she had a video camera up, and she was recording us, my brother and I, eating the cookies. And I decided, well, she said, "Hey, Mark, how do you like the cookie?" I pretended that it was poisoned and fell out of the chair. But like she wasn't expecting me to do that. I don't even remember doing it, right? But I was like,
You were
right?
already doing your thing.
Yeah, and it was actually really the timing, good job, little Mark, the time the comedic timing was on point. And I just
You hit your
yeah,
mark.
I think when it comes to comedy, comedy is definitely something that it can be taught. It can be taught, but the comedic timing is something that sometimes normally comes innately. It's just knowing when to drop it, and sometimes I can't even describe it. It just happens. I'll just say something, and then everyone starts laughing, and I'm not even sometimes trying to be funny, like you know. Like,
It just comes right, exactly. I know. So are you see, I love observational humor. I love humor that's dry and witty and quick and is usually responding to the nuttiness of life and the chaos of life and things of that nature. So, Neil Simon, Norman Lear, Jack Lemmon were favorite actor just because he took on the everyman's role and just, you know, made magic with everything that he touched. But observational humor is really fantastic because again, you could be in a room where there's things going on and you can come up with a whole storyline. Do you know what he's really saying to her in that airport line? Do you know what she really just did? And you can create this whole scenario from just seeing life in front of you. It sounds like that's what you do too, Mark.
yeah, yeah. I s I don't wanna say sometimes to my detriment, but yes, like, often I'll be like, "Oh, I wonder what's going on there," like, I always try to come up with a funny idea, something that I think is, that would make me, and it's situational, I think, for me often. It's like, "Oh, this situation results in this, meaning this person's gonna feel this specific way," Like, I sometimes love awkward comedy. Like, I think of, like, The Office, and I think of, like, Michael Scott, like, putting himself into those situations, and, like, sometimes people would say, like, "That's super cringe," but I'm like, I kinda love the cringe comedy, just because 'cause you're just like, "Oh my god," because I think that what it is that it puts people, if they were in that scenario, how would they feel, And that's what we try to do as artists. We try to make people who watch the stuff feel, you know? That's, I think, the biggest point of telling a story. If you're telling a story and you're not making the person who's experiencing it feel something, then what's the point of that story? You know? Um,
That's so very true. Exactly. They've got to feel something. Otherwise, it's just, dead air. That's a good way to look at it. You also wrapped up the Universal feature comedy Little, which must have been really cool to be a part of that. How did that come your way?
okay, so, man, that day, I had so many auditions. Like, it's there we go.
There it is.
That is, it's like what people say, like, they'll do auditions, and then forget about the audition they did, right? And
Right.
and
Move on
and
to the next thing. Yeah.
and it's because there's so much stuff, there's so many moving parts. That day specifically, I had 3 auditions to do, and I forgot I had auditioned for it. I honestly had, and it was just one line. And my wife, who at the time, obviously she was not my wife, she was my girlfriend, but she was always reads across from me, and, begrudgingly or very happily, because like, I can't imagine I'm always the most, like, loving scene partner to work with, especially when I'm like, "I'm tired, I'm hungry, I need to get stuff done. Ah," Um, and it was just one single line. I don't even remember what the line was, and to be honest, I was like, "I'm so tired. I don't have time to care." Like, I was like, "Let's just do it. We gotta do it." I was like, "Okay, here's the line. Boom, done." Recorded it, edited it, sent it off, and forgot about it. And it was like a month later, we were on a camping trip, and I got a call from my agent, and I had to he's like, "Call me back." But, like, I didn't have any cell phone reception, so I had to, like, walk this campground to get to a spot up in, like, Malibu just to get reception, and he's like, "You booked a movie." And I was like, "What?" Like, I was like, "When did I audition for a movie?" Like, and he's like, "Yeah, it's little. It's taking place in Atlanta, Georgia. It's with, like, Issa Rae and Marcy Martin and Regina Hall." And I was like, Okay." And I was, like, in my head, I'm thinking, "What?" And so, like, I had to walk back. I couldn't call my wife because she was at the campsite, didn't have reception. So I would, like, walk back with the news to myself, and it was kind of a moment to be like, "I'm the only one in my family or in the circle of friends that know this. No one else does." And it was kind of forced solitude for a moment, which was kinda cool, I kinda, like, could be happy. And not to say that I'm not happy, but I was joyous, but also, like, quiet because, like, obviously, if someone would see me jumping around and excited, like, as I'm walking with the campground and go like, "That guy's weird." Which often I'm sure people do if I'm, like, trying to memorize stuff and I'm on a walk and I'm talking through my lines and they're like, "Oh, he's talking to himself." Uh, but got back and told her and yeah, so that was a fun time. It was, like, 18 days on set in Atlanta.
That's fantastic, huh? Wow. What a great experience, too. You've had so many incredible experiences. You also co-wrote and acted in another feature entitled Ava's Impossible Things. Tell us about that. How'd that come along?
Uh, you know, Jim, this is I think my whole career has been in the cases of just being in the right place at the right time and
Right.
being open to the situation and saying yes. Like, which is exactly what improv is. Yes, yes, and then build upon that. And we lived in our old apartment complex, and there was a room upstairs that you could rent out. That was a workroom. It was a beautiful conference room. And if no one was in there, you could go in and use it. So myself and my writing partner, Kyle, who was also my roommate, we'd go up there and use it often. But he wasn't there that day, and I just happened to be sitting there. And this woman walked up, uh, uh, Marina, and she opened the door. And she was Marina Rice Bader, Bader. And she opened the door. She's like, "Hi." I was like, "Hey." And she goes, "I have the room signed out." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I can pack up." She goes, "No, we can share the space." I was like, Are you sure?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, sure." And so she sat down and then she goes, "Are you an actor?" And I was like, Yeah." And then I happened to have a folder with, like, headshots in it. This sounds so cliche. I literally had a folder with headshots and my resume on it right there with me. And
That's
then
the
she's
old
like,
school way, right? Exactly.
you know? And I was like, "Oh, here." She goes, "Oh my god." And she looked at me, she goes, "I'm gonna put you in my movie." And I was like, "Stop." Like, "What?" Like,
You're like, are you
and
serious?
people say that shit all the time, and I
Mhm.
was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." But, like, she was right. Like, I didn't, it became the fact that, like, we had known each other for a while. We started working on it together, and we started to work on the plot because she was already working on the plot. And I ended up being the only guy in basically a lesbian feature film, a love interest, for the LGBT community, but specifically I was the only, and actually I got to play an imaginary friend. So that picture of me is actually me playing an imaginary friend called Sweet Pea.
Were you channeling Gary or?
I guess I was. I guess that's the theme today. Like, yeah, yeah.
That is funny. That's amazing. Again, like you have had an opportunity to be involved in a lot of different things. You co-wrote the feature-length romantic comedy, produced this with your writing partner Kyle Holm. Tell us about that.
It that just came out of that just came out of a need and a want to create and to be out. I think we were still learning what it was like to be in Los Angeles because we had both moved here. He had studied in the UK. I studied in the UK. When we came out here, we both got agents from our showcase, which we talked about, and we were kind of like, okay, well, what's next? Like we didn't really know Hollywood. We weren't connected to anybody. We had a small agent, and they were trying their best, but also sometimes I wondered if they were even trying at all. And it was like, okay, cool. Well, we're here, and what do we do? And so they specifically came out of a necessity to create art. And I think that's the thing. That's the impetus. Like you have to create, and you have to make the opportunities for yourself. Um, and so I was looking at all the breakdowns every day on Actors Access or Breakdown Services, which is what they send out. And to be honest, I don't know if they still send all that stuff now because like the industry's completely changed from when I was out here 10 years ago, which is kind of sad. But I would see it. And I would never see characters that were described as me. It'd always be kind of younger or older. They didn't really want overweight characters. Like, I tend to be a little bit of a heftier guy. And since then, I feel like I've lost a little bit of weight, but on my own accord, not because I wanted to use Ozempic or anything, just because I wanted to do it. And I did it all without anything.
Did it on his own.
I did it on my own. Yes, I did.
What
I
did you
did.
do? What was your magic sauce? How did you do
Y-
it? Was it just a lot
y-
of cutting
I
a lot of stuff out, or
I gotta
exercising?
I gotta tell you, I tried over the last like I don't know 20 years of my life. I struggled with like weight, right? Like with just being overweight and stuff. And I always did exercise. I would try to eat healthy, but it literally came down to going and just talking to a guy, and just said, "Well, how do I lose weight? Well, I want to lose weight." And he said, "It comes down to strictly calorie counting your calories." And so I downloaded an app. We figured for my weight and what I wanted to lose, what I had to be at daily and to not go above that calorie wise. So I could eat whatever I wanted, but if I ate the things I didn't want to eat that were high calories but low protein, then all of a sudden I'm going to be really hungry later, and I didn't want to be that way. So I just continued to track. And then I obviously worked out. I said, "Do I need to work out?" And he goes, "You don't need to work out, but like it will help. But that doesn't mean you can eat more." And I was like, "Okay, cool." Um, and so I just became very regimented on everything I put in my mouth. If I had calories, I was tracking. And I would do my best to not go over that goal. I know sometimes it's hard if you go out to eat or something, or you grab like a McDonald's thing, which of course that's already going to put you over your calories. But that was it. That was the only thing that's ever worked for me. I tried Weight Watchers. I tried the the caveman diet. I forget uh what that's called. I tried like wait, I tried everything. Like nothing
Everything.
worked. Nothing worked.
So really, it was watching the calories and cutting back. So were you more of a late night snacker, or like if you were just sitting there watching TV, you have to have something with you while you're in the
That's
energy of the show or the movie, whatever?
That's it, and, you're not even realizing how much you're actually consuming each day, you
Right,
know?
right.
Because, and I think even now, like, if I'm on set or, directing, since I do a lot of voiceover directing as well, like, you're always tempted by stuff that's around because you just sometimes need to pick me up, you
Craft
know? Um,
services can be deadly.
oh
Good,
my
but
god.
deadly. Yeah.
The craft services on Little was I've never eaten better than that craft services. The Atlanta craft services for that movie. Oh my god.
It followed me for weeks and weeks
It did.
after.
It did. It did. It did. It did. Like, man, Will Packer knows how to have some great crafty.
I know. So that's a little, trick there for anybody who is watching, who's going through something similar. If Mark can do it and he found all these other ways to try to do it, and just it's a matter of the willpower of,
And it's
you
not
know,
easy. It's not easy,
no, no, right, right,
but
exactly.
but it's just being accountable to yourself, knowing that you're doing it for yourself, right? Like, don't do it for anybody else. Do it for yourself. Do it for yourself for whatever reason you want. But it can be done. You just have to have the willpower to put it in the tracker and go like, okay, cool. I'm at my calories today. I'm really hungry, or how do I feel? things like that, you know? Like, I also substituted, like, no more soda, so I didn't do sodas anymore. It was, like, more fizzy waters just because I realized what I didn't want what I didn't what I craved was the carbonation, not the sweet part of it,
So more
you know?
like even a seltzer kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So were you did you ever do alcohol, any of that? Did that have to be cut back
You
at
know,
all?
luckily, I was never really a heavy drinker. Like, I'm a social drinker. Like, I'll obviously have a couple of drinks here or there at a party, but like, you know, I mean, like during the holidays, I might like raise the caloric intake a little bit because that's a big thing. Because you know, if you have a mixed drink, you got soda there, everything else like that, beer, especially wine. You know what I mean? So I think for me, luckily, I never really was a big drinker, and so like so that wasn't difficult for me, but I'll of course, you know, every once in a while let my hair down, Jim.
That's or up.
Yeah, or there you go, yeah.
This is after the night of drinking.
100%, yes.
That's it. You mentioned, you know, the directing. As much as you are a performer, you are an extraordinary voice acting director. One of the premier, actually, for video games, and you have worked on incredible video games that people, you know, the cult following for video games is extraordinary and just blown up exponentially over the last you know, a couple of decades. Delta Force is just one of them, and Like a Dragon, and the list is extraordinary. How did you morph into being one of those, you know, prominent video game acting directors for the voice component of the video games? How did that come your way? Was it doing them yourself and then you had a real desire to want to direct others? How'd that come for you?
I think that's how it normally happens, but it was not normal for me. I only had my background in acting. I had my musical training, but when COVID happened, uh, there was everything shut down. You couldn't be on set anymore because people were getting sick. And but what didn't shut down, and I think what we talked about too, as this thing started, that's when this podcast started. You know, your show, where it was like, how do we still stay connected to people and stuff? And voiceover was not going away. People had found ways to make their home studios and record from home and learn tech for their audio stuff. And so I had always had an inkling and an interest and an understanding of doing voiceover, but like had never actually, you know, trained in doing it. And so I took every single SAG class that I could because I was part of the actors union because I had gotten my SAG card and joined SAG. And like they had a lot of free, and they still do, for anybody who's part of the union. If you didn't know that, you can go on and you can sign up for like online classes. You can go use their you pay dues for a reason, and some of them though is just to bring amazing classes and continue to educate yourself, whether it be in whatever field you're in, or if you're looking to like, you know, figure out how to make additional money while you're waiting to get your next acting gig, because it's gig to gig. And I just happened to be, again, for my story, in the right place at the right time. And one day I was like, I don't have anything planned. And I had someone say, hey, what are you doing tomorrow? And I said, nothing. They're like, great. I need you hopping on this Zoom call. I'm going to speed you up, because he goes, I think you have a really good ear. You obviously teach acting. I was teaching acting at an acting school. And it was just like, and we just don't have enough people right now. And that's how it starts. You know, there's no school that you can go to for for voiceover directing, for especially in video games, but just in general. It just kind of, I think most people start as a voiceover actor and then go, you know what, actually I've done this a lot, I want to kind of transition into the video direction. But where for me it was the other way around. I started voice directing before I started voice acting on stuff, and mainly because I had that background in acting. So I think it was kind of a natural progression. And I, you know, like I said at the beginning, I played so many video games as a kid, you know, when I was younger, that my mom used to say, "Get outside." And I'd be like, "Yeah, look at me now, mom. What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm directing games."
All right, exactly right. Yeah, see, you stuck with it, which is amazing too, and that's become a really big part of your, you know, your day and of your career on so many different levels. Got some cool photos. Te- Tell us, take us through what we're seeing and what were you doing here?
So that is on a mocap set. So this is performance direction right there. And of course, like it's just it so this is mocap is like motion capture slash performance capture, and you can see the actress in the back right there. She's got like the little ping pong balls on, and they're basically the markers, which if you look at around, if you kind of look around, you see those little kind of purpley blue like lights around. Those are all cameras, which are all trained on her to
Mm,
basically see and notate and record her body metric data. So when she moves in that space, it'll know where she is physically at any time. And there's about 200 to 300 of those cameras that they have to kind of fire up in the morning, and they get set
wow.
up and they're, and so like, and then if you look straight in the back, you can see four different cameras right there showing
Right.
four different angles of this. The one behind me is obviously one of those angles as well. And so they also record that. So the animators can also see her in those positions, as well as the camera can track her in the 3D space. And this is specifically how we create video game performance right now. And so it has been such a pleasure to be able to be invited into what's called the volume, right? Like this, and to do these types of things. And this, I spent so much time working at Rouge Mocap, which is down here in Marina Del Rey, on this project. And it was just such a pleasure to be involved in this experience. It is the culmination of everything. I feel like honestly, this is the culmination of acting in terms of like learning film and television and theater. And there's me as well, myself in the suit, and that's with the head mounted camera or the HMC on me. And of course, I'm trying to look stoic, but I think
Very
I look like
stoic.
I think I look like I'm stuck in traffic in Los Angeles
Yeah.
there.
In a world, right?
Yeah, with my Don LaFontaine face.
Exactly, right? There was another guy too who I used to I've always followed all the voice, people too, done voice as well, but have, a lot of television, radio work, but, some of those, network announcers too, like Ernie Anderson, from ABC, The Love Boat, tonight on ABC. Those voices, just like these voice of God sounds that you would hear that you don't really hear as much now like you used to. It
Mhm.
would be tonight on CBS. It's just very like, wow. Other people might not notice it, but guys like you and I probably were like,
Yes. No,
that sounds
exactly.
good.
Yeah. No, that's, there's still a big push for live voiceover broadcast. I
Yeah.
am not
Yeah.
involved in it, and I think I'd be like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna hope I don't mess this up," but yeah, you have to be a really great reader. You can't let the pressure get to you, you
Oh,
know. And
right.
what I've seen too is that a lot of live broadcasters who do like award shows and stuff will then go on and then also like do like sports announcing, or like for like the Dodgers or things like that. So they'll do
Yes.
that, and then yeah, and then they'll get called in to do the other stuff too. So um yeah.
Exactly. Tonight on the Oscars. Right. Exactly. And then all
Yes,
of a sudden they'll
exactly.
be doing. Yeah, it's amazing. This is a cool shot. What's really cool about this is last night, even though this isn't that, we saw the Blue Man Group.
Oh yeah. No way. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and they were awesome. But look at this.
And that's exactly what the camera sees. And this is obviously like, you don't see my name in those because I took this picture of them while they were out there doing this. But like, obviously everybody is named, and the camera sees each of those people. And this is just kind of like just a it's a human form of what their biometric data is showing to the thing. Like if they didn't have that kind of like fake, like basically Power Ranger over them, they would just all look stick figure like. You'd still see them
Right.
look like humans, but this is just like a overlaid stick figure. And you're probably like, how is that Brie person floating?
Exactly.
And
What's
she's
really funny,
yeah.
during Blue Man Group, that they actually paused. They said, "How do you think all this animation's happening with all of this?" And they actually stopped and they showed how it was like stick figures and just shot, 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 and then they sped it up, and then that's how it became more. And that's what it's all like, going all the way back to the Gumby and Pokey days. I mean, it just really was stop and just shot after shot after shot after shot. Of course, now with digital and computers and everything, it's so much more advanced. But back then, it was sketch and sketch and sketch and sketch and sketch and sketch and just put it all together, which was really old, cartoons and things of that nature. It's really fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. It's I think it's really interesting to see where the tech will go and how we will continue to entertain, and, to see where I see what here's what I think. This is what I think. I think, and I don't know how I feel about it, but this is where I see it going. I'm gonna call it right now. Okay, this is one of your exclusives, by the way. So, um, what I see is I see in the future, whether or not we like it or not, there will be AI performances of live shows from live performances that were already recorded from old people, if that makes sense. So they'll upload their performance, probably because they either their estate or they haven't had a chance to sign off on, we don't want my performance copied, right? So I'm just thinking like Laurence Olivier or someone who would have performed on stage, and all of a sudden they're going to have so and so performing against a side with Laurence Olivier, like a hologram projection of his performance, and then their live performance back and forth. And I can totally see that being like, because like we go back and we watch old movies, but all of a sudden they bring these stage actors back in, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden we can see them in real time, and they're going to be there, and we're going to see people acting across from their performances. I don't know if I like it. I think the tech guy in me gets excited about where that can go. What implications those can mean. Um, I've seen and I've heard of people that can go into the VR space with like their head cams on, and they can actually go see a live virtual reality performance of actors who are also much like that in that mocap thing. So they'll be in a different place entirely, but they can put on a whole performance for you individually in your own home.
Mm.
So
Wow.
and so you can, and you'll be right there. And then the cool thing is that you don't have to focus on where the camera's supposed to focus you, because you can move your access point no matter where you want to go. So you can actually watch this actor over here doing their thing, as opposed to where the camera is telling you to focus on, you
It's
know?
incredible,
So
isn't it?
it's gonna be really interesting to see where all this tech eventually kind of leads us into the next realm of entertainment, and stuff.
I know a lot of people are afraid of either their image being used and or just being replaced completely. I know there has been some, I mean, I could tell when I watch a commercial sometimes, like, my God, that voice is the same AI voice that I saw in a YouTube video or something,
Yep.
where
Mhm.
normally they would have hired the voiceover actor to do that voice specifically for that commercial or what have you, but instead it's that generic guy that I've heard everywhere else. How do you
Yep.
feel about all of that, where AI coming into the voice world and other areas?
I think it gets really tricky. I think it gets really, really tricky. I'm 100% against it. Um, there's one element where I'm not against it, and maybe people will hate me on this, but is for vocal stressful stuff, you know? Like directing on Delta Force, sometimes we have call outs where you're on the battlefield and you have to go like, go, 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 grenade out, right? And, we have to limit those sessions if they're highly vocal stressful, sessions. So I'm just thinking like in the future, if AI can maybe help with those, like where they can get someone shouting or on fire sound, because God knows you only want to do that once or twice. Oh, I'm dying of napalm burns, like that's like the high end. Like, so like when we do those, it's like, okay, guys, we're gonna get like 2 takes of this, because that's gonna kill their voice. That's something we don't want to do. So like let's make sure we get it right the first time. So I could see maybe where that could be helpful as a tool, um, to lessen vocal strain on actors, but it's got to be very minimally used. If that's the only spot where I can see it being used. There's an inorganic human non-humanness to voiceover, and yeah, I don't know. It's just I think as long as the actor is socially aware of the implications of the voice that they're given, and they are given their proper um uh, use case of those things, then
Mm.
and they've signed off on it, and and they've been properly like what do I say, compensated for their likeness, then I think, then that's a tool and that's not going to go away. And I think then that's fine. But I think using it without people's permissions and things like that, it's not okay. And
Somebody that just said
for
that
a lot of
recently
AI,
is
yeah.
Morgan Freeman. He was asked that recently. I think it was on was it CBS Mornings just the other day. They talked about how do you, because he's got one of these phenomenal, recognizable, beloved voices, Morgan Freeman, and they asked him, how do you feel about this, where people can try to sort of mimic the voice, or, and he said, and then they said, well, what if they were able to create, the replica, but there was compensation involved and you were involved in it and there was compensation? They said, well, that would be another discussion we would have if that was
Mhm.
happening. But to have it where they're replicating it and there's no compensation and no involvement and it's just appears everywhere, totally all bets are off, which makes complete sense, because it's your gift, it's a
And
gift. It's what you do. It's also what pays the bills.
and there's the social implications of what they can or can't make it say or do, right? And I think that's the thing that, like, like, you don't have to necessarily do a role if you're going to be in a film and you're like, actually, I don't want to play this racist, homophobic character. That's just not who I want to be. So I'm going to say no to that. But like, AI goes, sure, just give me a prompt and I'll put it through, right? And so you lose some ownership over what you deem okay that you would do. So I think that's the other element of it too. Um, so I think that's a big thing, and I think we're on the right path to getting it there. There's like, we have ethically sourced voiceover companies now, and we have people like Nava, who is trying to go to the government and really 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 fight for it. And we have AI contracts in place. SAG also has them as well for voiceover actors, and stuff like that. So I think those are super important. Um, and I just hope that companies realize it's way better to have faith in humans than it is in the machines and what they can and can't do, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Some of it is very Twilight Zone-ish. And we had Anne Serling, the daughter of Rod Serling, as a guest on our show. She was amazing, and talking about her father and talking about how a lot of the things that we're experiencing in our lives now, he pretty much wrote about, and you can actually see in episodes of the Twilight Zone. He was from upstate New York, Binghamton, actually. And he had this incredible way of thinking about how we treat each other and about all these scenarios and about technology taking over and all these amazing things way back in, the early 60s during that series, which was, when you watch some of those episodes, like she said, he, not that he was intuitive, but he just really understood the human condition from his own experiences, which is really, really quite fascinating when you look back. Wow, that episode of the Twilight Zone is like what's going on today. It's
Mhm.
to serve man and all these things. It's
And
really
and and now
amazing.
you have like the next level, which is like the Black Mirror stuff. That is, it feels like it's the next level of the Twilight Zone. Um, like those episodes in Black Mirror, man, they make me feel in a way, which I know I said it's important to make an audience member feel, but they make me feel in a way where I'm like, oh God, like I can totally see society turning in these certain ways. And I mean, it's important. It's absolutely important. And we need to have stuff like that to make us question our morals and reality and to set the bounds of what's right and what's wrong. And I think, we have a duty as an entertainment, people in entertainment, to kind of help shape those things. Um, so yeah, I think it's really important to do that.
To observe it and to appreciate it. Exactly. Here's some more. But wait, there's more.
Who's that guy? Who's that
Who is
guy?
that guy? Wow.
I know, right? Like it lets you see, like, those suits don't hide anything. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, it's like those Lyrica suits, like they're all Velcro, and they do that. They they allow you to like basically just be free. It's like running.
Just
It's
be
running through. Yeah, running with your long underwear on, essentially.
the new version of Speedo or something. Is that
Yeah, basically. Yeah, full body speedo.
exactly what was happening here?
Um, I think what I was pointing at them because actually that's actually I think one of the from the other scene that we were looking at where she's kind of floated right there, and I was
Right.
pointing on the fact that you could not see because she's actually not floating. They're not holding her, but she's laying on a platform. But since the
Ah,
platform is not marked, it doesn't show up in the camera. Right?
right.
So they can create movie magic. You could someone else like there can be 4 other people in that scene right there, and as
Right.
long as they don't have any markers on them, they can interact with the space and the cameras don't pick them up. So they
Ah,
become like the invisible, yeah, the invisible people. So
it's cool stuff when you see it back, right? Huh?
yeah, yeah.
Is
No,
this
it
in
is.
Los Angeles?
Yes, this is.
Yeah,
This is in Rouge Studios new location. So you can see like their 4 cameras set up right there and things like that. Yeah. Yeah.
that
And their
is cool.
timestamps and stuff. Yeah,
Wow.
it's quite a do you see all those people? Oh, there we go.
Delta Force.
Delta Force. I gotta tell you, this was at GDC last year when I went, which is the Game Developers Conference. And I've been working in Delta Force for the last like year and a half. But just to see that huge banner, which of
Mhm.
course does not look as big as it actually is, but it is a massive banner. And just to see it up, and I was like, that's why, like, you can see me. Of course, I needed my Starbucks that day, but it was just
Yeah,
like, just to like see the size of that, it just like in the hall when you walk in, I was like,
incredible.
okay, cool. I directed that. you know.
It's another cool shot. It's a really cool. And there's, of course, the setup. Mhm.
Yeah, just like this kind of like where we were sitting when when we were like normally you wouldn't sit in the space, but because of what we had to do, I was sitting there and able to talk directly to the actors in real time while we were recording this. This eventually became a game which is called Whisper from the Stars, and which is now available on Steam and iOS on Android devices. And so it's a kind of a really neat story. It's about an astronaut that crash lands on a planet named Stella, and she reaches through to you based on your cell phone and tries to, and basically you through communication have to kind of help her. And she listens in real time to your voice and then responds to you in real time. And you have to try to help her get off the planet or not. And so it's a little bit like Groundhog's Day. Like, if you get to a certain spot and you fail, then you restart and kind of go through it again. But it's a pretty neat experience to try. It's pretty cool to see how the tech works that way.
It's really amazing. It really is. The making of the video games too, and the job that you have is really it can be intense sometimes too, right? As much as it is fascinating to you.
It absolutely it can. This is why I have no fingernails, Jim.
They're all gone.
They're all gone. They're all gone. I'm gonna show them. Everyone's gonna go, "Oh my god, it's so gross!" Like I bite my fingers so badly because I'm always like, and this is just a way, obviously a nervous tick that I have to get over, and I still haven't clear at this point. I don't know if I ever will at this point, but it can be super stress inducing. There's a lot of money on the line. There's a lot of a lot of things that like every single time that you're there, you're burning time, you're recording time. Like there's the records, like there's that. But I think also it's like also you're dealing with a lot of different components. It's no longer just you on a set as an actor. As a director in those moments, you have to be like the timekeeper, the person that sets the bar and this for that session that day. You have to be like the cheerleader for the actor and also looking out for the actor and find a way to like shield the actor from the clients who might be on the call who don't necessarily know how to talk to the actors and might say things that can be hurtful or not necessarily, like they'd be like, do it again, but more manly. And you're like, okay, that's not a great suggestion. Okay, I know what he means. It's like, but like, how do we say that to them so they understand it, and as opposed to like talking about like to do it more manly? Because it's like, okay, I'll do it like this, then. So it's like trying to find the way. It's like and I might say something like in that case, And luckily, I have never really been in a situation like that. But I then might say to the actor, then it's like, okay, let's do it again, but really feel like in this moment you've lost everything. You are a father, and in this moment, your child is no longer near you, and you're going to give your all to get them back. Liam Neeson it from Taken. I will find you, and I have a certain set of skills.
It must take a little something extra to tell an actor who's like 6'7", be a little more manly.
Exactly,
There's a certain
exactly.
technique to that, right?
Right? Yeah, yeah. It's like there's all different ways, and of course, all actors work differently too. So it depends on the rapport that you have with them, and if you can like talk to them, or And I try to always, going back to what we talked about, I try to always make every session that I'm directing fun. We try to have fun. We try to laugh. I always think like if you're not having fun, what the hell is the point? Like, of course, there's going to be things that are not fun. There's certain parameters and levels and numbers that you have to hit, and certain words per hour, and lines per hour, and certain scenes that you have to get done because this actor can't be in for this other day, and so there's lots of things like that. That is doesn't the scheduling is not necessarily fun, but while you're in the moment of it, being as creative as you can and trying to keep everybody having a good time. That's my goal
The
most of the
bottom
time.
line, right? The
Yeah.
absolute bottom line. Tell us the names of some of the other video games that you've been involved in that people will instantly recognize. You've worked on a
Yeah.
lot.
Well, so I'm super so like Yakuza like Pirate in Hawaii, Yakuza Pirate in Hawaii, which came out in last year. I got to direct there's this very first time ever in a Yakuza series where they had an opening cutscene of them singing on the ship. And I got to do, with my musical background, got to teach all the actors the song. I also recorded it myself and then sent them all the clips, and then we went in and we got to have them all record and sing in real time, well, individually, obviously, but then like throw it all together. There's the very first time ever a singing cutscene in a Yakuza game. Often those games will have like karaoke scenes where they go and they sing the karaoke. So that was tremendous just to watch that, and to also see the scene in real time and after it's all been done, and go like, yeah, okay. And I've been able to bring my singing stuff to that. Um, Trails in the Sky, first chapter, which came out in September, which is a Japanese RPG role playing game. I was one of the voice directors on that, aside from Jeremy Hall. We kind of tag teamed on that one. And then again, another Sega Yakuza game, Yakuza Director's Cut, Yakuza Zero, which was a Switch 2 release, which came out last year in June. Age of Mythology Retold, which is a Microsoft game. It's a real-time strategy game. Was up for a Game Award for best real-time strategy game. Delta Force, obviously, and then also Delta Force's expansion or first-person player campaign, which was the retelling of Black Hawk Down from the movie. It's like a one-to-one retelling of the movie. And I'm pretty proud of that because we spent a lot of time on that. So, uh, man, I could go on and on. I realize that there's so many now at this point. Some that I've like lost track of, some that I haven't even like put up on my IMDb yet, and also things that I still can't talk about because they have a release date and things like that. Because the video games, there's crazy NDAs.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What do you think it is? I don't know if you've ever been asked this question. What do you think it is about video games that has just captured the hearts and minds of millions of people, as much as in the early days television did, radio did, things of that nature? What is it about? Because you're in the thick of video games in that world. What do you think it is about video games that just has captured so many people and has a real grip on them? People can't get enough. They get excited about the next one. They want to know more. They want to see more. They want to be involved in it more. And all the people that make it, they like to hear their stories. What do you think it is? What is the magic of the video game world?
Man, it's interesting. It's a great question because honestly, like I haven't thought of it, but I think when I first was in video games, when I first started playing video games as a kid, like it was not as popular as it is now. Like if you like, I'm sure that if you can see a trend chart, you can see like how it's the trend has completely, where I start to see like older adults now, constantly just, or playing. I think what it is this, it's this social implication of they have essentially a video game in a machine, whether it be a handheld or whatever, in their pocket or on them at all times. Their cell phone has allowed them to have games on their phone, and then they maybe play like Candy Crush, which is one that like everybody plays, and then the mobile stuff. So I think that kind of starts it off, and it's just like it's there to create um social distractions from the world, which sometimes sucks, so I think it's a way to outlet, there. And but I think what keeps pulling people back is probably, and I'm hoping this is the case, because obviously there's certain types of games. There's some games that are just like, here's a new season of content, but not necessarily like a story. To me, what pulls me back to games is the story. Is the story being told well? Do I feel connected to the story? Do I want to know what's going to happen next? And I think so that for me is like, a lot of the games I like to play are like seasonal content games that have new story and new lore dropped in. Um, and it's always like, ooh, what's going to happen next? I think, and then we get into like basically, film and television, and how the television seasonal arc was, it's so I think also what's done is it's allowed more and more people to have access to that media, because more and more people have it just, on them. So I think that's what it is.
Accessibility is great, right? And you can
Hmm.
take it anywhere. It's mobile. You can go anywhere. You can be on a train, a bus, a plane, or whatever, at a park, sitting on a bench, and you can be involved in it, right? And other
Yeah.
people are involved too. Other people that are doing it simultaneously, which is fascinating. So it's really continues to grab on, and people just can't get enough of it. And you're in the thick of it, which is really cool. This is we saw this too. Tell us about this. Something new that is happening.
This is a studio that I direct a lot at through Side. Side LA, and it's this is what you're greeted with when you kind of show up. And so
Mhm.
like, it's like in their lobby. And so it was kind of neat just to be like, you know what? I'm here a lot. I like this picture. I'm gonna take it, because like it's down in Marina Del Rey, so it's obviously I live way up a little bit. So like just in terms of like traffic and stuff, it's like people know where Side is. It's near the airport, so people can get off the airport and then go straight there to do some work. But yeah, it's a fun group of people, and I've very much enjoyed working and doing most of the productions that I've had a chance to do through Side, because they are very supportive, and they're like one of the top sound recording, sound post production houses in Los Angeles and the world.
That's really incredible. You've had an opportunity to work with a lot of big names too. Mattel and Marvel, Microsoft, as you mentioned too, and Sega and Amazon, working with those studios and more. It's kind of cool, huh? Are you always bouncing around from place to place?
Yeah, for the most part, I'm totally freelance. So and it's just been word of mouth, which I guess I can't really complain, like people like look at what I do, or like, I have the resume of stuff that I've had a chance to work on, and then I look at like review scores, like either being critic and or audience review scores, and they go, "Hey, that scored really well." What happened? And I know that obviously when it comes to voiceover, I'm just one component of a game. Like a game has another director too, which is the overall seeing of the game. Then we have the art department and everything else. Like the mechanics department who like make sure that everything is like the mechanics of this game is playing and stuff like that. And it's the writers. There's so many. I mean, and then you even come down to like the audio engineers who always never get enough love, and they're always sitting next to me and trying to understand what I what I need, and or me, you know. Make sense of what I'm trying to like mumble as I'm thinking about stuff. So I I do try to bounce around if I have the opportunities, and I'm open to working with like, big and or small companies, you know. Sometimes the big ones present more issues, you know, but like it's just because there's more people working on it. So when you have more people, you'll have more opinions, and you'll have more situations in which you have to kind of deal with. But at the same time, at the end of the day, we're all still making games, and it's still fun, or better be.
Too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes, I
That can
guess.
happen. Yeah.
Right. It can spoil the sauce, but you're enjoying the ride, huh? You're really you're in a, like I say, in a sweet spot right now. You're thoroughly enjoying the work. The work is coming. You're busy, and that's a good place to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It is a little sad though to see the state of the industry, because what happens is
Mhm.
that big corporations start to let off a lot of people. A game doesn't do so well, all of a sudden they just let people go. But like, and it's, and again, we going back to the AI thing, they're using AI now to do more stuff than they should be. So it is interesting to see where things are going to go in the industry. But I will say right now, it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. And there's still opportunities out there. I see like little indie devs, people who all get laid off and they go to make the game of the year from last year, like Claire Obscura 33. Like they were all part of Ubisoft, and they were all like let go, and then together they all created a game over the last 5 years and won game awards last year
Which is
for it. Like
amazing,
it
right?
won it won the biggest, took home the biggest amount of awards in 1 year. So and I'm sure they're like, oh, we probably shouldn't let them all go. But what that does is that creates a sense of people wanting to create their own stuff and storytelling. Exactly, like it goes back to myself and Kyle, you know, um, not sitting around and being told, oh, this is what you have to do. Oh, you won't let us do it. We're going to do it ourselves. And I
Hmm.
think that's where the true innovators come from.
It really is. Absolutely. What else have you not done yet that you would love to do, Mark? Other
Oh
than, of
man.
course, being on the Jim Masters Show, Celebrity Talk
I
Show
mean, well,
series. I know
I can
that's
now check
always
that one
been
off. Like
that you
that
never would
that
have
was
expected this
hold
to
on.
happen.
That was right here. There we go. That one's been marked.
That
Um, th- that's exactly it. I think I think for me personally, there's two things. I think I'd like to direct a little bit more in animation. Like whether it be like a Japanese anime or things like that, or even just um like a new Nickelodeon show or something. I think also I'd like to maybe voice a character in like a Nickelodeon show. Um or something like that. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Uh yeah, I it's weird because like I did have someone say, well, what's next for you? And I'm like, man, I'm so busy right now. I can't even think of what's next, you know? And I guess it's a good thing to be in, but also like every once in a while, it's sometimes good to like put a pin in it and go like, where am I headed? What is the thing? I think at the end of the day, how I've structured it, Jim, is I've gone, what am I? Because originally I was an actor. I was a teacher, and then I was an actor, and then I became a multi hyphenate. And I was like, but you know what? All of those boil down to one thing, and this is why you and I are both here today, because you are too. We're storytellers. Full stop.
right. We are,
You
and
know,
we're multi hyphenates. I never
that's
thought I would be able to add that to my resume. Multi hyphenate.
that's that's it. That's it. You know, like And nothing matters if you're not telling a story.
Absolutely right. And feeling it too, and inspiring others and entertaining
That's it.
others and lifting others up and taking them away from their troubles of the day, just like
And
a
sometimes
filmmaker does or a
that's
musician
it. And
does.
and sometimes you'll never know if you did that for someone. You just never know. And if they actually take it a courage upon themselves to reach out and say, "Hey, I was in a bad spot and I saw this and it made me think of this," and then you know, and those are moments that like are really helpful to you to go, "Oh wow, what I do actually matters." But just know, and this is for everybody, just know that what you do does matter, and you never know how much of an impact you have on someone else. So, in good
So
ways. Also,
this is
negative ways, but try to be the positive ways.
this is where the teacher in Mark comes out right there. That's right. So how did we do on the Jim Master Show? Did we get an A? Do I get a gold star,
Oh
Mark?
my
Teacher
gosh.
Mark?
Like if you could get like it like we'll say just in video games we say triple A, so we'll say
Triple
triple
A.
A.
Triple
Triple A.
A. I love
Yeah,
it. Right back at you, my friend. Really a pleasure chatting with you and learning
same.
more about not only what goes on behind the scenes, working in the industry, film, TV, radio myself. I get what you're talking about. And I think it's really fantastic that you found what you love, but yet you also have various other sort of multi-hyphenates. You have different things that you do that make the day. And as much as you are loving being a teacher, a director, a voice artist, an actor, a singer, you get to plug into all of those things that are your gifts that come naturally for you and share them with others and lift others up at the same time. It's the icing on the cake for you, isn't it?
It is. It is. And what I want to say to you is thank you for having me on and having a platform to bring people like me and other people to your viewers and stuff, because that's super important. So I hope you feel the same way, Jim. I know you do. I know you do, but like what you do matters, and I really do appreciate having the opportunity to come on and share a little bit of my story, but also get to be a little bit of your story at the same time.
Well, it's a pleasure. We'll have to talk more over the Starbucks and tuna melt at a diner or something, right?
Oh, dude, I want to eat a tuna melt so bad right now.
I know, I love those. It's really, really cool. Folks, here's his website as well if you want to check out some of the cool things he's doing, what he's up to, look at the projects he's been on. He's also got samples of his work there as well, voiceover work and more. You can check out the website. A real pleasure, my friend. Spread the word about the Jim Masters show. And if you know other folks you think like to pop on. And it was a real pleasure getting a chance to spend this time with you and learn more about what makes you tick and what your passions are. And people probably saying, oh, wow, Mark was involved in that. And I know that. And I know that. And that's really cool for the viewers as well. And as I say to all the guests, we are going to keep the porch light on for you. You are welcome back here at the Jim Master Show anytime, Mark, and truly hope you enjoyed the time with me as much as I have with you today.
Thank you. I have, absolutely. And Jim, I'll probably be back. Why not? I had so much fun.
We had a lot of JMS exclusives too, which is really, really cool.
True. I'll bring the exclusives next time too.
That makes it viral, right?
That's what it is. Yeah.
Let's go viral. You're the best. Mark, be well. Continued success and blessing to you and yours. And come join us again here at the Jim Masters Show. Really, really enjoyed the conversation. And you're very good. You're a great conversationalist too, because you, which I love. It's like a great tennis match. You play off, which I love to do, anything that's thrown at you. You're right there. It's responsive. It's on point. It's quick. And I love that kind of a conversation where you're like ready for anything to come your way and you toss it back, which I think is awesome. It's good stuff.
Thanks, Jim. You too.
It's a love fest here.
I know.
No, you're the best. No, you're the best. You're the best.
Don't stop. Keep it coming.
That's it. Keep it going. Please putting it right. My father, you'll love this before we go. My father, when I was 7 years old, and some of our viewers have heard this already, my father said this really sage advice. My father grew up in New York City, a couple blocks away from Tony Bennett. My father has this fabulous, quick Irish wit and charisma. Told me when I was 7, now I'm like the 5th James. So of course, back then I was Jimmy. Everybody on our block was Jimmy and Stevie and Bobby and Donnie. And it was all ending in I-E or Y. And it was like an episode of the Brady Bunch or something. And he says, now I'm 7. And he goes, now, Jimmy, always remember when somebody says something kind or nice to you, make sure you thank them for those kind words. Always thank them for those kind words. Then ask them to please put those words in writing and address it management.
That's amazing.
It's so true, right? Yeah. 7 years old, sage advice he gave me, and it still holds true today.
Absolutely.
Good stuff, my friend. You be well and come join us again. All right. We'll keep that light on for you. You can continue enjoying the ride because you're having fun and you're putting smiles on people's faces with the work you do. And it's a pleasure to have you with us. You be well. Okay.
Thanks, Jim. You too.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Take care. Marc Hawes joining us here on the show. How cool was that? Did you have some fun, folks? Well, if you did, a little quick homework before you go. Don't go anywhere, because another great episode of the Jim Masters Show series comes up in just a second. And don't forget, you can go back in the archives, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of past episodes of JMS that you can watch and enjoy in the archives, with so many celebrity friends and special guests that stop by our show. But give this episode a like. I wish they had a love button instead of just like, but if you really loved it and liked it, click the like, thumbs up. Make sure you do the thumbs up, especially on the YouTube channel. Share this episode from our YouTube channel right onto your social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, and drop a comment below. How much did you enjoy the conversation? Couple of laughs, and talking also about video games and AI and voiceovers and all of this that our friend is involved in, and really, really cool stuff. And if you enjoyed it, interact with us. Maybe some of those video games that we talked about, you play yourself, and now you know he's involved in the direction and so much more behind the scenes. Really, really cool to get a chance to chat with our friend Marc Hawes joining us here on the show. And he even gave you some tips too on ways to slenderize as well. It's really about calories, caloric count. You'll always think about him when you see that, right? We surprised him with that. He didn't know we were doing any of this, which was great. Great conversationalist, a great guy, and a pleasure to chat with. Marc joining us here on the show. Thank you for joining us as well. Jim Masters here. Don't forget to love one another, take care of one another, and do the very same for yourself. Really important to do that. Coming to you from New York, this is the Jim Masters Show Celebrity Talk Show Series. We love when you guys are here. Spread the word about our show, and come join us again. We'll keep the light on for you as well. Be well, everybody. Take care, and stay tuned for more of the Jim Masters Show coming up in just a second. Be well, and cheers.